organization or any charity. This is essentially a group of friends who come together, local community members, who want to have the opportunity and provide opportunities to others in Rochdale in ways the candidates in this type of format. Before we get into the opening statements from each of our invited candidates, there's a few important clarifications which I want to make for the benefit of everyone. Just on cue, the easy stuff. Firstly, the organisers of the Hustings decided to invite the candidates from the three main political parties, plus George Galloway from the Workers' Party. Now, this decision was based on a number of factors, which included inviting candidates from parties which are more prominent, those parties which have locally elected representatives on the council, and individuals which may be able to respond effectively to issues of concern at the moment being raised predominantly within the Asian and Muslim communities in Rochdale, hence why this event is organised, has been organised within this community in the heart of the Pakistani and Bangladeshi community in Rochdale. Now, there are 11 candidates in this by-election, if we count also the official Monster Raving Party, which of course we should. And clearly it was unviable for us to host all 11 within a 2-hour event. And I know there are a number of independent candidates and candidates from other parties who are disappointed not to be on the stage this evening. However, those candidates who are independent of from other parties and are sat in the audience will have an opportunity, should they wish to use it, at the end of the hustings, to make a statement for the duration of 2 minutes and present their case before the closing statement from the candidates. So that opportunity will be provided. Thank you. We've not yet gone into the audience participation. There is no expectation on us to invite all of the candidates. Thank you. You've said your bit now. Thank you very much. So I want to make it absolutely clear, nobody, and there has been some chatter about this, has been barred or banned from the hustings. Everybody has had the opportunity to register to attend. There are candidates clearly that we can see in the audience who have registered to attend. There are candidates who haven't registered to attend. And there was one just outside the door, and he was given the opportunity to wait until we started, see what empty seats there are available, and then he could take a seat. He decided not to take on that offer. Just as you've had to register, I think it's fair that anybody who's gone should register to take on. Now, the invited candidates who are here and can be seen on stage are those. The invited candidates are the ones that are here that you can see on the stage, George Galloway and Ian Johnson. And there are 2 candidates who have decided not to turn up, and they're represented by an empty chair. Before Azarelli was suspended by the Labour Party, he had agreed in principle to attend a hustings session. Since the suspension, I have been contacting him regularly to reconfirm his attendance, and only at 2:30 p.m. early today, he told me that he couldn't attend due to a family emergency. Paul Ellison of the Conservative Party had agreed to attend, as was confirmed by the North West Regional Press Officer for the party. However, just 2 days ago, without providing any reason, the Conservative candidate backed out of attending this hustings. The party told us that another representative would attend, and clearly they've not been able to find someone to take their place. Following the opening statements, we'll take questions related to local issues first, then national issues, then international issues. That we respect the order in which the session has been put together. So, candidates will have an opportunity to respond to questions put to them For some questions, they both may need to respond or want to respond, and for others, it may be one of them. And they want to be very to those answers. Each topic area will be timed, and we'll roughly spend 20 to 30 minutes on each topic, and we'll see how that time progresses. And if we have time remaining at the end, we will have a quick fire round for any general questions not covered within those teams. Once the Q&A is over, candidates will make a closing statement for 2 minutes. And as I said earlier, the candidates who are in the audience and want to have an opportunity to address the all will also have an opportunity to do that.
That is not equal.
I'm sorry, if you continue to persist in shouting out, we have security and we will ask you to leave. Before, and that's a curfew actually for the ground rules for this session. We know that politics can be emotive and makes people passionate, which is commendable. I expect to see some passion, but I would ask that we engage abuse to the candidates. We do have security personnel in the hall to ask anyone to leave. When on speeches from the floor, keep your phone. Also, please switch off your mobile phones. I know there are people who will want to take photos. Thanks, Ian. I know there are people who want to take photos, make videos, and live stream. There is a live stream currently ongoing on the Workers' Party YouTube page. And that's actually
Workers' Party YouTube page, live stream.
We do also have in the room various media outlets. There's a recording taking place for press radio. We have 5 pillars. Website also here. We have a photographer for National Press, Rochdale Online. I believe the Times was due to attend. I'm not sure if they can. But the media is also in the room. That's how the format for this evening, and we hope to conclude by 9 o'clock or as close to 9 o'clock as possible. Just in terms of housekeeping for the hall that we're in, there are fire exits behind you and behind these dividers here. There are toilets just outside the door that you came into this hall. They are used as toilets. The hall, as you will see in the center, is under renovation at the moment. So we thank you for your cooperation. As I said, there are 11 candidates, and I'll read all the names. At the University of Manchester, and experience of the government at the for 19 years. George Galloway has been a member of Parliament for a number of years, since 1987, and was initially a member of Parliament for Glasgow Hillhead, and then Glasgow Calvin. He was also MP for Bethel Green and Cove, 2005 to 10, and also for the Brighton West constituency. And a critical role for our candidates. I did for Australia myself.
Sorry about that.
It wasn't really fair. So Ian,
I should have brought me equipment, but I didn't.
Thank you.
Thank you. And good evening, everybody. We live in very difficult times, both in terms of the international scene, the national scene. Something like 36 burglaries every day go unsolved in Greater Manchester, and we are a part of that. So we need to be dealing with those issues. On the national areas, we've had some pretty bad decisions in recent years, and the one I'd like to highlight is the recent decision by this government to open up new licenses in the North Sea for drilling for oil. It is wrong. The oil they're drilling for won't even add to our national energy security, and it has to be stopped. And on the international scene, of course, we all have concerns at the moment, particularly about the situation in Israel and in Gaza, but also the situation in Ukraine, the situation with people in Chechnya as well, where there's been substantial oppression in recent years, and many other areas around the world where there is insecurity. What I would like to offer is the opportunity to at least have an MP who is working for our community, for our country, and internationally for our planet. We need to tackle climate change, we need to tackle insecurity, we need to actually work to protect ourselves here in Rochdale and to protect our future. We need to be bringing business and jobs in, we need to be improving our environment, and we need to actually be making sure that here in Rochdale we have the housing, the education, the social services that we need.
With 40 seconds to spare, I'll now take your statement.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you, Mr. Donaldson, ladies and gentlemen. I've spent the day trying to help save Rochdale Football Club, which is just about the only institution, heart, that the town has left. Having lost our A&D, having lost our maternity services, having lost our market, if we lose the football club, then there will not be anything left that is definably Rochdale, and will just be a collection of houses on the outskirts of Greater Manchester. So today, after several days of negotiating, I met with the leading figures from the best days of Rochdale Football Club. No names, but you don't have to be Einstein to work out who they are. And we are demanding that Rochdale Council step in with immediate assistance to stop the club going literally into liquidation in the next few days. And if they will do that, then we will put together a consortium of people to save Rochdale Football Club. I think this is vital. It's vital to stop the slide. Rochdale has been on the slide for years. I've also, in the last week or 10 days, had 2 meetings with the new owners of the Exchange Shopping Centre in the centre of town. And that's why I'm able to tell you that in the next few days, I will be in a hard hat on site as the pagoda roof is removed and the market, the open air market, covered albeit, will re-emerge from the dead. So I can say before I'm even elected as the MP that it was me and Mr. Patel of the Adan Group that have bought the centre that brought back the open air market into Rochdale. And I'm very proud of that achievement. I've even persuaded them to make the necessary arrangements to get Primark into the town, which is a demand from all sections of the community. But the greatest of these is yet to come. Rochdale is a town where you cannot be born unless in a taxi on the way to Oldham. Rochdale is a town where you cannot die unless in an ambulance. And we, my wife and I and others, were at a care home. I'll tell you about it later.
Unfortunately, I couldn't give you the 40 seconds at the end. Thank you both for your opening statements. Before I take questions from the public, if you do have a question, please raise your hand. We have runners with mics on either side, please wait until the mic gets to you before you ask your question. And as I said before, please keep it succinct. And this first section that we're discussing is local issues. But if I could just start to both of you, given where we are in 2024, there's meant to be an election upon the Prime Minister later in the year, perhaps in the autumn. So say you only have 6 months or so in Parliament once you're elected. What's your single priority for Rochdale that you want to achieve within 6 months? Ian?
I think what you can achieve within that 6 months is to challenge the situation with the sewage in our rivers, to challenge the housing associations to actually get their act together, and to challenge the police to do their job and to protect our community. And I think that those three issues particularly are doable and practical in that time. Now, unfortunately, I don't have the money to bring in people to buy centres and to do things in that sense. I'm an ordinary working class man, and all I can bring is hard work, dedication, and the sort of sense that Rochdale needs to actually get our community back on an even track. If, however, going beyond that,
Joking it that the Green candidate were kicking off at the beginning, big outburst. And they even said they'd eject her from the meeting if she carried on, honestly.
But I'm not going to pretend to you that anything is achievable in what might actually only be 35 days if the government calls the election to the same as the locals, which is one option.
I don't have the money either, Ian, but I know people who do. It's my job as the Member of Parliament to bring people with investment into the town. And that's what I pledge to do. If you force me to say only one priority, it would be to change the town hall, to change the council. I believe that the town council in Rochdale is the heart of darkness. I believe that the town council in Rochdale has to be entirely changed. I believe that the fish rots from the head, and the head is in the town hall. So if you elect me, I'll be leading a campaign to have a brand new town council in the Rochdale fine £20 million town hall.
Thank you. My name's John Lawrence, National Housing Party leader. I mean, why should people vote for anybody in Rochdale? There's never been any accountability in Rochdale. Satanic abuse, social workers still had the jobs. No View, Cambridge House, Richard Barnell lied to an inquiry. And then we had the rape gang scandal, and the police and the council have been unaccountable in that 50 years of all that. So why should anybody vote for you? I agree with the Green lady over here, very undemocratic that you don't have every candidate up, but a good explanation towards it, but it's still not fair. And I would say to the people of Rochdale, no matter what domination or ethnicity you are, why are you voting for these people when there's no accountability, and there never has been in Rochdale Council?
Well, you don't have to vote, of course, sir. Nobody's forcing you to vote. And as I think you probably wouldn't vote for me, I encourage you to stay at home.
I like you, George. What are you on about?
The reality is, though, that what you said there is absolutely true.
Yeah.
There's been no accountability.
Never.
This time. In fact, there's been a cover-up, and a cover-up of things that have been wrong in this town. And that cover-up is at the door of the party that isn't sat to my right. It's Labour that needs to be butchered out of Rochdale, because it's they who are responsible for most of Rochdale's ills.
Agreed.
So what I say to you is this: you know me, you know that I've got a voice, you know that I've got a voice that is amplified by the microphone I've got in front of me, but it's amplified by the fact that I have a high profile. And I will use that high profile to switch a big searchlight into the dark corners of what has happened here in Rochdale in a way that no other candidate can promise you credibly to do.
I would say you're right, just responsibilities in part due to the very processes by which we elect our, and we need a system that actually provides for fair voting. We also need a system that brings power away from Westminster and here into our own communities. Because at the moment the system is that Westminster determines what councils can do, Westminster determines what individual politicians can do, and we need to get to the stage where we actually have in our region and in our communities here genuine power and genuine control over our finances and over our politics. So I would say that if you look at the Liberal Democrat approach to this, we want to change the voting system to get fair vote. We want to change the way in which our country is organised so that we have local people making local decisions about local issues. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Lisa Beckles. My question is about education for those children in Rochdale who have special educational needs and disabilities, but the facilities in Rochdale are inadequate. So many of our young people are having to either move out of areas to get adequate education, or they want at least a minimum of 1 hour journeys every day to and from the borough. So I'm just wondering what you would do if you're elected to ensure that all our children are able to be educated in the town where they live.
So both candidates agreed, no accountability, never has been any.
It's a great shame on this nation that the last time, for example, higher education was addressed, and the last higher education code was created was here in Rochdale, and it's the only one created in this country in the last 20 years. That shows you how little priority is given to education. We need to get decent schools, we need to get decent education, but we also need to make sure there is a massive problem for young people who've gone through the COVID period of actually catching up. We need money put into making sure that they are able to catch up. So there is a lot of work that needs to be done, and it's a lot of work that actually needs to change in the way that we look at the whole finances of the country and the whole way in which we work. They are the generation that will look after us when we're no longer.
Wait, said them. Confirm what I said about gangs.
And we should be securing the future.
In school.
Mm.
I'm not happy about so-called models, questions of sexuality, questions of how many genders there are, questions of personal relations. I've got children here, so I'm choosing my words carefully. But I think that as parents, we're going to have to put our foot down about some of the materials that are being shown to our young children long before they are, in terms of maturity, able properly to process it, and often in defiance of the moral and ethical framework of their parents. They're our children, not the state's children. And I don't want my children to be taught that some things are normal that I don't believe are normal. I don't want my children taught things that undermine the family, undermine family values, and distort the thinking and development of our children. So I have a lot of questions.
100% agreement with
and of course,
him on the
total sum that's
sex
spent on it is
education.
important. The way in which those sums are distributed are important, but the quality of our children's education, what actually is being taught, is also something that I'm deeply concerned with.
I agree 100% on sex education, what they're teaching kids in school. 100%.
Yeah, a couple of points. I welcome your comments about the jail, and I welcome your comments about the local council. A local issue that has been going on for a long while is the Turner Brothers asbestos site. I'd like to know what you're going to do about that, because that's been going on for 20 years. We've been campaigning for 20 years to stop haphazard development. You know, and that really needs something doing. And also, in terms of national, what's your views on PR? And I'll just end with up to date.
The issue of the asbestos, of course, comes back to the council. Only the council can ensure an end to haphazard development. Only the council can deal with these threats to environmental health. And that's why when I was asked to give only one priority, my one priority was to put a large boot up the backside of the people who have, like a kind of mafia, got a stranglehold on this town of Rochdale and have run it into the ground. I welcome your comments about the Dale. I think you'll have worked out who I was meeting with today. We've got to get the band back together. We've got to get the people that ran the club, and maybe even, because he's sitting at home, the manager that ran the club back to Rochdale, so that we can see that band perform again at the highest level, at least in the Brentford and Bournemouth were non-league. Look at them now. That's my ambition for Rochdale Football Club.
Would you not then guy never said nothing they won, but
The Turner site, we need immediate action. We've been waiting for a long time for action on this. The council hasn't done its part, and the government hasn't played its part either. What I would suggest that we need to do in the first instance is find out just how much of the site is contaminated before that's on. The rest of the ground around it. Well, no, the site is much bigger than the building that we're talking about. The actual site has more land to it. So we need to actually look at the rest of that land being taken into the nature reserve and get the proper treatment for the area where the asbestos has been a major problem. Because if we don't tackle it properly, then we're not going to make it safe. We need that asbestos removed fully, and we need to get it properly sorted out. But the site itself, there are other, the rest of the site can actually be brought into the natural area around there. So there is work that needs to be done, and I will work damned hard to get the various agencies together to actually make sure that that is sorted. It's something that you'll recall Paul Rowan almost got them to move on when he was the MP, and it's fallen by the wayside again since.
Thank you.
I'm the chair of Rochdale, Greater Manchester Tenants Union branch. Just going back to the word accountability, I think it's worth remembering that in Rochdale we're very fortunate to have an MP, Mr. Tony Lloyd, that was not only accessible but accountable to everybody, and was universally liked across the house, and admired and respected as his funeral showed the other day.
Huh?
And George, I'm not sure if you're aware, but the council have already invested heavily in Rochdale football. And they can be accused of many things, but that isn't one of them. And I think if you look closely at that, you'll see how much they are actually invested in the
Rubbish, yeah.
football.
Tony Lloyd, accessible, didn't do nothing about satanic abuse. No view Cambridge House and the rape gangs didn't do nothing about any of them issues. So how's that good?
Since the year 2012, when the social housing stock was transferred over to a housing association. What I'd like to know is what your experience of social housing in Rochdale is, and what impact you think you could have on the social housing crisis in Rochdale. A positive impact. In fact, a simple question. Do you know how many people there are on the waiting list tonight that will be sleeping in bed and breakfast, in hospitals, these families? Just a simple question. Do you know how many people there are on the waiting list?
Thank you. Yeah.
From the day I entered into politics, the one thing I always said was if I don't know the direct answer, then I'll answer directly. The answer is no, I don't know the full numbers. What I do know is this: I campaigned very heavily against the same situation in Manchester when the Manchester housing was being moved away from council housing and into what is effectively private sector housing companies. And I think that that was a very bad and a very wrong move. There were alternatives.
His pants are split at the back and he doesn't know. And I promise you that.
One of the biggest problems in terms of social housing is that people are having to build on today's numbers for tomorrow's problems. And if you look back at when, over the last few years, we've had one of the highest levels of single occupancy. And if you've got single occupancy and you build a house that is going to meet the needs of multiple occupancy, because that's where things are going, what you get then is a situation where, due to the bedroom tax, for example, you are actually being penalised in terms of whether people can afford to live as single occupants or multiple occupancy, and that is damaging very much the national ability of housing associations to build. You've also got the ridiculous situation of the affordable rents policy, where people are actually having to pay, and on market value rents, policy, where people are having to actually pay according to what the market value is in the private sector for social housing, and that has to change. The number of people who were put into absolute distress because they were having to lose their houses because of the increase in the cost when that was introduced for housing associations that didn't need to make that increase was terrible. Both of those policies were introduced between 2002 and 2010 by the Labour Party. And one of my great shames is the fact that the Liberal Democrats were not able to negotiate to get rid of those two policies. But it is something I have always fought against and I will always fight against. In terms of getting the housing numbers up, the affordable housing numbers up, the other thing we have to tackle is the ability of private builders to say, yes, we will build 10% of these houses will be social housing, and then to go to the courts and say, actually, it's not commercially viable to do that, so we're going to sell the whole lot and get away with it. We've got to change having to pay leaving and then applying it to Rochdale is absolutely ludicrous. So there's a lot of work that needs to be done on affordable housing and on making housing affordable. The other thing we need to do is increase the number of council houses that we have, because one of the big losses has been the number of council houses that have been moved to the private sector because of the right to buy, and they have not been replaced.
Thank you. Does anybody else have a question?
bravery, almost without support across, to argue with you about what the council has done in the past for Rochdale Football Club, beyond saying I don't agree with your interpretation of events. What I'm interested in is what they're going to do now that the club is facing liquidation. If they don't do something right now, the club will no longer exist. And so if you're a friend of Rochdale Council and the councillors, I ask you to take this message away now, that this is beyond the 11th hour. If you don't do something now, there will be no Rochdale Football Club.
I'll try. I don't think I'll get another question. I've got to go soon. So I'm going to end the stream in a minute. I would have asked him, but just didn't. It's really difficult when you're here. And they already talk about stuff that you're going to say. But no, good question.
All of my teenage years in a council house. And I don't like these euphemisms about social housing. I believe in council housing. Why? Because if you're in a council house, you get to elect your landlord and you get to remove your landlord. I opposed and won in ballots in the East End of London the attempt to privatise council housing through the so-called arm's length management organisations, almost to semi-privatise what were public assets that the public had paid for and that the public were able to control the conduct of their landlord. So I know plenty about what you call social housing. And we, the Workers' Party, have a policy of mass house building. Why? To bring prices down, to bring rents down on the simple principle of supply and demand. It's the shortage of housing that makes the rents high. It's the shortage of housing that makes the house prices high. And if we have a mass program of house building, we're putting bricklayers back to work. We're putting joiners back to work. We're putting electricians back to work. We're putting plumbers back to work. Glaziers back to work. That's what we need across this whole country. So my answer to you is this, that the Rochdale Town Council has failed on housing like it's failed on everything else, and it's time to get them out.
Thank you, George.
Right. That's me, guys. I've got to go.
Thank you. We'll take 2 more questions from the floor on this topic area. Thank you, sir. We'll take 2 more questions from this topic area.
Thanks, guys. Thanks a lot. Yeah, I've got to go. I've got to get back to my mum. I'm looking after my mum. So, cheers. Thanks. Right. So I'm going now. Oh. So, guys, interesting then. I mean, I like how George goes on about relationship and sex education. No one else does, and I love that. I love his speeches on that, and I 100% agree. I'm not on for his full line of politics, but I definitely agree with that. I'm heading home now anyway. I've got to get back to my mum. I've had a good evening. Not bad, Hustings. We had the Loopy Green Party in, saying, yeah, we're going to stop this right at the beginning. The woman nearly got chucked out. Honestly, when I'm in, I'm going to be pushing to build coal power stations. So we got warmth for our family and kids. I'm not bothered about the global footprint. I'm really not. All the while, we've got old people, family members, freezing cold, can't afford to heat their houses properly because we're being screwed over with energy. As Prime Minister, I'll be getting them coal power stations right up. They will be right fired up, and I'll be working on the small nuclear stations that they've talked about. I'll be working on them as well, firing them up. That's what I'd be doing, firing them up. So I've had my piece in Hustings. I'll download it after. It's difficult when you want to say something when something's already been said. I can't explain to people what these Hustings are like. Well, thanks for tuning in. And again, what I've showed is that Big John will go to them lengths to be heard. And my hand were right up. But they both agreed with me. There's been no accountability from the council, the police. They didn't like it when I mentioned rape gangs, but I'm going to mention it. What am I not going to mention that? Is that what I'm not going to do? Just keep quiet on it? No, because that's what everyone else does. And I fucking refuse to be quiet on that subject. I'm headed home, guys. I've had enough. Got to get back to Mammy. So I'm headed back to tram stop now. But yeah, I've had an enjoyable hour. Didn't get a chance to shake George's hand. I don't agree with his politics, but he went out of his way in Batley to spend 15 minutes with me. And I give him respect for that. When no other candidate would touch me with a barge pole, but George Galloway come and talk to me about that teacher, which was a big thing. I've been going on about it for weeks on Twitter. I've been going on about it all across the Batley by-election. And he's obviously seen my tweets and that. And he let me have 15 minutes with him. So he gets respect for that. That's all. I'm headed back to tram stop now. I've got to get home. I'm not sure what I'm doing tomorrow. Actually, I've got to stay in. I've got to get my leaflet ready for my election. So I'm going to have to work on that tomorrow. But yeah, next week is the election at the sports centre. And get down next week. And see everyone going in and see if I can catch any media or anything like that. So when you want somebody to say what other people want, Big John is that person. I've proved it umpteen times, guys. I've proved it umpteen times that I will stand up and speak up on issues that other people just too afraid to speak up about, honestly. And that's me. And I've always been the same. I've always been an opinionated person when it comes to stuff like this. I have. It's in my blood. And a lot of my friends say that, yeah, I was like that when I was younger. Always got an opinion about something. Always wanted to sort something out. But John Lawrence, National Housing Party, I've had a lovely hour in Rochdale. Actually, I might go and have a brew at Weatherside. I've got enough money for a brew, not having any beer. So I think I can afford a brew. We'll see what time tram is. So accountability. There's been never no accountability for satanic abuse. Social workers still had the jobs. View, Cambridge House, Richard Farnell lied to an inquiry. I said that. And the rape gang scandal with the police. And as soon as I mentioned that, they wanted to take that mic off me, and I weren't letting it go. Oh, I wish I'd said more, guys. I wish I'd said more. But yeah, interesting. I enjoyed every minute of it. I love these kind of things, guys. I love it. If there's a Hustings in your area, your town, your city, wherever in the country, if you want me to come down and speak for you, I will do. Promised, I've said that loads of times. I'm just waiting for people. I've got a couple of people lined up to get to Mer's question time, Great Manchester Mer's question time, and one of them is a really serious thing. So I've got that coming up. Probably the next Mer's question time. So yeah, Riverside outside Rochdale Council offices. Unaccountability, guys, remember. So satanic abuse, 20 kids got took into care. The social workers who accused them all of satanic abuse still had the jobs, still kept the jobs. Richard Farnell lied to an inquiry about Cambridge House and Knoll View, that he didn't know that kids were getting abused, and he did. He never got convicted of anything. He ended up working under Joe Anderson, and then obviously 100 million went from Liverpool Council. And obviously the police and the rape gang scandal, they've never been accountable. Remember, the police called the girls prostitutes, so did the councillors. Two prominent councillors at the time give references for them sex offenders, even though they'd been convicted. To give references for them. And one of them candidates was going to run, I heard, on the grapevine, it's not confirmed, that they were going to run one of them two councillors under the Lib Dem badge in this by-election. I shit you not, honestly, that's what I've been told, and the source that it's come from I've never doubted that source. I can't 100% confirm it, but that's what I'm being told. My tram's here, so I'm going to get the tram, I think. So yeah, Rochdale, by-election Hustings. I'll see you all next Thursday at the Leisure Centre. I'm going to try and get a different phone and a different network so I can live stream a bit better. But I'll be live next week at the account, hanging around outside, see if I can get any interviews off any of the candidates going in. And I'm going to give them green candidates. I'm going to tell them that I want to make more coal power stations, nuclear power stations. I want to drill for oil. I'm going to tell them. And I wish I should have shouted it in that thing last night, but tram's here, guys, so I'm getting on it. I've had enough. Got to get home to Mammy.
This is a service to East via Oldham. The next stop, the Rochdale Railway Station.
See how long I can keep the tram, the signal up for. So I'm on tram now, guys. Oh, I know he is, but yeah, I've still got respect for the guy because he gave me time to talk to him in Batley. But I don't agree with any of his other politics except for relationships, sex education in schools. I'm on tram, guy. It smells of fish and chips or whatever.
This is a service.
I'm hungry now. Thanks for tuning in. Sorry about the dodgy signal. I need to get a better phone. But I'm going now. I'm going to download this and try and cut out the bit I said and get that up on Twitter and TikTok and Facebook. But thanks very much, guys. I'll catch you up soon. Where was that meeting held? Wardsworth Community Centre, just on the road behind the Riverside, opposite that car park, just in that estate there. But I'm good. Thank you very much, guys. I'll catch you all up soon.